In this video, I'll be going over problem 1 of Unit 2 Test Review, Function Operations, Compositions, and Inverse Functions for Standard Math 3. So the first problem, you are asked to find f plus g of x. We need to recall that this just means that you're going to add your two functions together. So if f of x is defined as 3x plus 4, I'm going to put 3x squared, I said that all wrong, 3x squared minus 4. I'm going to add to that the function 2x plus 9. All I need to do from there is identify any like terms and combine them and write the rest of my terms in descending order. So I bring down the 3x squared, the 2x, and negative 4 plus 9 is positive 5. You can put that in your calculator if you need to. And that's it. Remember, I did teach you to verify your answers by making sure that 1 is stored for x. So I'm going to type in 1 store x enter. And then I'm going to type in the problem as I wrote it down to begin with. And compare that answer to what I get when I type in the answer that I got by doing the math. When my outputs match, that means my answer matches what I wrote, so this is correct. Next, f minus g of x means you're going to take f of x and subtract g of x from it. The thing that's tricky here that you have to keep in mind is that f of x you'll just write down, but you do have to put whatever you're subtracting in parentheses. If you don't, you'll forget to distribute the negative sign. So I'm going to rewrite the 3x squared minus 4, but this means I'm subtracting positive 2x, so minus 2x, and I'm subtracting positive 9, so I'm subtracting 9. Then I can combine like terms and write down what remains. And there's my answer. And again, I can verify it the same way. I'm just going to do a couple of these. 3x squared minus 4 minus 2x plus 9. Then I'm going to type in my answer. If they don't match up, I would first make sure you typed it in correctly. But then if you know you typed it in correctly, but it's wrong, they just don't match, then you know you did your math wrong. So negative 12 is our output for both, so I know my answer is correct. Part C, f times g of x. Make sure you understand the difference between the dot and the circle. The dot here means multiplications. This is the product of f of x times g of x. And then down here for part E, that circle represents the composition. So this is f composed with g of x. So don't confuse the two. Make sure you know if you see a dot, that means multiplication. So f of x is 3x squared minus 4, and g of x is 2x plus 9. We want to put those two quantities in parentheses, and we can either double distribute, which some of you might prefer, or use the box method, and I'm going to use the box method. So with my box method, 3x squared times 2x is 6x cubed. Please remember that this is 2x, x times x, and an x. So you're multiplying a total of 3 x's. So that's why it's x cubed. Negative 4 times 2x is negative 8x. 3x squared times 9 is 27x squared. Negative 4 times 9 is negative 36. Then recognize if there are any like terms. Because all of our exponents are different, we have x cubed, x to the first, x squared, and a constant term. We do not have any like terms, so all we can do is list our terms, making sure that if a term is positive, you put plus, and if it's negative, write it as minus, and that would be our final answer. But of course, we want to check out our answer. So 3x squared minus 4 times the quantity 2x plus 9, and then 6x to the third plus 27x squared minus 8x minus 36. And I get negative 11 for both, so that's a good thing. That means my answer is correct. D should be the easiest problem on the entire test, because all this means is you're going to take the function f of x and divide by the function g of x. f of x is defined as 3x squared minus 4, while g of x is defined as 2x plus 9, and I am done. That's all you have to do. For part E, understand that f composed with g of x just means we're taking our g of x and we're substituting it into f. Another representation would be f of g of x. So this means I want to write my function f of x. So I'm going to copy this down here. F of x equals 3x squared minus 4. So what I'm going to do is if I want to do f of g of x, I'm going to take out my x, but write down the rest of my problem. Understanding that in place of x, I'm going to put in g of x. But what is g of x? Back at the top of our page, g of x is defined as 2x plus 9. So here I'm going to put in 2x plus 9. So when you go to simplify this, you have to recognize that an exponent means repeated multiplication. So this really means you have 2x plus 9 times 2x plus 9. Next, if we're multiplying in order from left to right, we can distribute this 3. It will only be distributed to the 2x plus 9, not the other quantity 2x plus 9. Keep in mind that if you were multiplying 3 times 4 times 5, you would only multiply the 3 times 4 first. You wouldn't do 3 times 5. So you would not do the same here for this product. So if you wouldn't do it with numbers, don't do it with algebra. So when I distribute the 3, I get 6x plus 27 multiplied by the quantity 2x plus 9. And at this point, you might want to think about setting up a box since they're larger numbers. Keep it organized. 6x times 2x is 12x squared. 27 times 2x is 54x. 6x times 9 is 54x, and 27 times 9 is 243. At this point, you do want to recognize that you do have like terms diagonally in your box, so those need to be added together. So what I have at this point, this product here is now 12x squared plus 108x. That comes from 54 plus 54 plus 243, subtract 4. Don't forget to keep bringing that minus 4 down. At this point, our last step would be to combine integers. So we'll have 12x squared plus 108x plus 239. Because this is a bit longer, I do want to check my answer. So let's start with what we plugged in originally. So this was 3 times the quantity 2x plus 9. Close it and square it. Subtract 4. I'm going to hit enter and I get 359. Now I want to check my final answer. 12x squared plus 108x plus 239. And these match. So that tells me my answer when simplified matches what I got when I plugged it in. So next for f, we're going to do likewise and plug f of x into the function g. If you don't write this part, that's fine. G of x, I'll just rewrite it, is 2x plus 9. So that means I'm going to rewrite this function g, but in place of x, I'm going to put f of x, because this is my input. I'm taking all the f of x, which is 3x squared plus 4, or minus 4, and substituting it in to 2x plus 9. My next step is to distribute to both terms. So I get 6x squared minus 8, and I bring down the plus 9. Because I have like terms here, meaning integers that can be combined, negative 8 plus 9, if you need to put it in your calculator, do that, but that negative 8 plus 9 is add 1. So this is what we get. So if we check out our work again here, 2 parentheses 3x squared minus 4, close parentheses, add 9, and then type in 6x squared plus 1, our output values match. Okay, so that tells me my answer is right. Notice that I'm doing this consistently to model for you that that's what's necessary to ensure you get correct answers. If your numbers don't match, that tells you you made a math error and you should go back and check your work. Check your signs, check your multiplication, check your exponents, and make sure that they come out correctly. Okay? If you do not practice checking your work when you're studying, you won't remember to do it correctly on your test. So please make sure you're doing that step. Next we have for G and H where we have to evaluate some functions. So think about what I told you. I'll go up here and just remind you that f of x is 3x squared minus 4 and g of x is 2x plus 9. So think about what I taught you in class. You're going to take your -3 and let that be your input in this function. My best recommendation for you is to type in -3 and store that. So right here, your STO button, store that as x and hit enter. Then type in 3x squared minus 4 and it will substitute the value of -3 in for x for you accurately. So hit enter and we get a value of 23. So that means when I plug -3 into f, I got 23. Now this means you want to evaluate g of 23. So I'm going to take 23, store it as my x value. So to do that, I'm just going to come over here. I've already got 23. I'm just going to hit store, and it's going to take my previous answer, which is 23, and store it as x. And then I'm going to type it in my g function, which is 2x plus 9. So if I type in 2x plus 9, I get 55. And that's my answer. We're going to do likewise for this, but remember that we need to, when we find this value, multiply it by -3. So let's go ahead and plug 2 into g. So now I'm just going to take my 2 and store that as x. And then type in my g function, which is 2x plus 9. And I get 13. Now I want to take the 13 and plug it into my f function, but of course I want to now store 13 as my x. So you can just redo 13 store as x if you like. Oops. 13 store as x. But now I'm plugging it into f. And f is 3x squared minus 4. That gives us a big value of 503. So I'm going to come down here and put 503. So all I have now to do is take that 503 and multiply by the -3 that was already there. So I'm just going to hit times -3. And I get -1509. 1,509. That concludes the first video on problem 1. The next video I'll cover problems 2 and 3.